Okay, hi everybody. Final class of Weekday Nusach. So just to catch up, we finished Shacharit. We said actually that the beginning of Shacharit, Birkot HaShachar, and basically Psukei de Zimra are in the mode of the Birkot HaTorah. Right? And then we're moving to the section of the Shema and its blessings. And we said that this is kind of the Haba Nagila mode. Yishavar Shimcha Lad Malkeinu Brachot Ve'odot Me'atav Yad Olam Uvarchim U'Meshavchim U'Mparim U'Maritzim Magdishim U'Mamlichim Yitgadal V'Yitkadash Me'Rabba Barechu Et Adoshem Amvorach, etc. Okay, that's the whole thing that takes us up to the Amidah. And today we're going to discuss the Amidah. Just to put in context, we said that also that mode in a different way, as we looked at that, is the Arvit. Baruch atah Adoshem amari varavim ki hem chayenu berachmeinu b'hem negiyam b'layla ve'avad chadas v'menu l'olamim baruch atah Adoshem ohev amo Yisrael, etc., etc. Okay, so that's the Mariv, and basically today what we need to do is the Amidah.
Question before
Yes.
you start on that. The last part before we begin there, either in the morning, the Gaal Yisrael or an Arvit, I'll call them us. Okay, it really is only in. No, never mind. The question was really before Shema when we get that Gaal
Yisrael.
No, I'm sorry. You know, when we say Gaal Yisrael, we get the introduction to the Amidah. Sometimes we swallow that, people will swallow the Gaal Yisrael, or you actually.
Oh, okay. So, okay, fine. So let me clarify what's the story. As we said, I think last time we talked about this idea of smichat geula letfila, i.e., juxtaposing geula, redemption, i.e., Gaal Israel, to tefillah, to the Amidah. And we're very, very careful about that, especially when it comes to Shacharit, to that extent that we have nothing in between. We'll say, Baruch atah Hashem, Gaal Israel, boom, we go right into the Amidah. As we said, in Arvit, we're a little bit more flexible, and for historic reasons, we have that also, Baruch Hashem le'olam amen v'amen, and all that kind of, Baruch Hashem bayom, Baruch Hashem balayla, all that kind of stuff. But we are very concerned about that. So, some authorities suggested that perhaps even the recitation of Amen is going to be a hefsek. It's going to be an interruption between Geulah and Tefillah, and one should not say that. On the other hand, we have a problem. It's a bracha. You finish Baruch atah Hashem, Gaal Israel. So what are you going to say? So the compromise, which is among many communities, is to say it quietly. And then if you didn't hear the end of the bracha, then you're not obligated to say amen. And this way you avoid that question whether there's an interruption there, because you're not obligated to say amen on a bracha that you didn't hear. When I came here, before I got the job, on my audition already, I asked Rabbi Top, what do you want me to do? Because there are different. So he told me, you definitely say Gaal Israel in a way that people hear it. And therefore people say amen, and that's it. So that's the practice here at Bet Jacob. Some places I know that not the custom, but both are valid. I don't know valid so much, but whatever. Both are acceptable and popular custom. So this is why sometimes you're gonna hear that they're gonna say the bracha itself, the chatima of the bracha Baruch Atah Hashem Gal Israel, in a very undertone voice, just because of that issue, whether amen is going to be an interruption or not. Okay? Okay. So the Amidah itself is going to, we're going to use that both for the Amidah, the same Nusach for the Amidah of Shacharit and Mincha. Okay? So, and that basically takes care of the entire Mincha service, because Mincha, if you remember, it's just Ashrei, Chatzi Kaddish, and then you have the Amidah, and then Aleinu. That's it. That's the whole Mincha. So it's the same Nusach. Okay, what I want to do is, I'm going to share my screen. I know that's going to be funny, but I think this is, that's the way you're going to remember that Nusach, okay? So let me go into here, and let me go share the sound here. Share sound, and listen to this.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Okay.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
Do you recognize the, like, of course you know the show, but the Nusach, believe it or not, that's the nucleus of the Nusach. That's a pentatonic scale, penta 5, right? Pentatonic scale, it's a 5 notes, and it's a very, very old form of music, which tells us that Nusach is very, very old. And if you have access to piano, it's actually, and later on I read about that. I don't remember who wrote the music, but it was kind of the person was sitting by the piano and he was playing just the black note, the black keys. If you play only the black keys, that's basically what we want. That's the Nusach, that's the pentatonic Nusach, which is going to serve us very, very well for the Nusach of the repetition of the Amidah. I'm gonna play a little bit more so you'll have it in your ear.
And to do when you want it.
Dance for girls and men.
That's
Over again. Didn't need no welfare state.
Everybody pulled his weight.
G.R.O. LaSalle ran great.
Okay, we have it. So every time you're in doubt, think about that. Think about that that song. Pa 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 pa. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how it works. So you remember you have the Birkot Torah. In the beginning, you have the Hava Nagila. It's supposed to help you with Mariv and Shachrit, and you have the Archie Bunker song to help you with the Amidah. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Amidah. If you have the art scroll, you can look at page 98. Well, that's a little bit higher than what I wanted to do. Baruch atah Hashem, right? Pa 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 da 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 da. Yeah, so far you got it in your ear. Okay, let's now listen it. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoteinu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov, El HaGadol HaGivor v'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות מביא כל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. ברוך אתה השם, וברוך אתה השם, מגן אברהם. You hear how that scale is right there? אתה גיבור לעולם, השם מחיים את אימת, הרב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מגלגל חיים בחסד, מחיים מתים ברחמים רבים, תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגיבורות ומדומה לך. By the way, you got to be careful, it's not dome, it's dome, right? And it's one of those things that people also make mistakes is Baal Gevurot. I hear it all the time. Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot. It's not. It's Baal Gevurot. Okay? Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot. Umidom elach. Melech umidom echayom atzmiach Yeshua. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה השם. וברוך אתה. ברוך אתה השם, ומחיי המתים. Kedusha is the same thing. I want to focus your attention to one word that almost every day I hear it in the wrong way. Nekadesh et shimcha, and almost everybody say it be'olam, ba'olam. And it's quite significant because be'olam is in a world. Ba'olam, in the world. When to be specific, you say ba, in the or throughout the, rather than in or throughout a. Okay? Be careful with that. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך. וקרא זה לזה ואמר, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך עד השם לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, hallelujah. Here, by the way, when I come to Kedushat Hashem, to the third bracha, as you know, that bracha is different in Chazarat Hashatz than the silent version. Silent version, Ata Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh u'Kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelu chasala. When we do the repetition, it's Ledor v'dor nagid kodlecha. One thing that you need to be careful is, it's the word v'Shivchacha. Now, there are a different version. There's another version, and it's also legitimate. You need to check with the Siddur that you're using. Here, at Bet Jacob, we use the Art Scroll and the Koran, and both are Veshivchacha. However, there are those who say Ushvachacha. Not Veshivchacha, Ushvachacha. There's a whole huge argument that goes hundreds of years about that. So both are legitimate. It's not a mistake if somebody say Ushvachacha, but at least in the Art Scroll and in the Koran, which are the two main Siddurim that we use here at the Jacob, it's the Shivchacha. Okay. That word is also crucial. Godlecha. It's not Gadlecha, it's Godlecha. It's a kamatz katan. It has an O sound. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדונם, הגל הקדוש. Now, here from Atachonen, we have a split. I'm going to continue with the same Nusach till the end now, and then later on I'm going to share with you a different Nusach, what we call the Volin Nusach or the Hasidic Nusach in a more simple terminology. Sometimes you're going to hear that Nusach as well. And if you feel comfortable, you can switch back and forth. Both are kosher, both are correct. At least in the beginning, I would recommend to stick with one, which is the one that we're already doing. Okay, I think we're a little bit too low for most people. אתה חונה לאדם דעת ומלמד לאנוש בינה. חוננו, not חננו. It's a קמץ קטן again. קמץ קטן as a O sound. חוננו מאיתך דעה בינה והשכל. ברוך אתה השם. חונן הדעת. Pa 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 pa. השיבנו אבינו לתורתך, וקרבנו מלכנו לעבודתך, והחזינו בתשובה שלמה לפניך. ברוך אתה השם, הרוצה בתשובה. סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, מחל על מלכנו כי פשענו, כי מוחל וסולח אתה, ברוך אתה השם, or ברוך אתה השם, which is the more common version for a chatima. Tararari, tararam, Chanun, amar velisloach, re ve'onyenu, not ve'anyenu, onyenu, from the word oni. Yeah? Kamatz katan, again. Re ve'onyenu ve'riva rivenu. It's not riva, it's a riva. Ve'riva rivenu. פוגע עלינו מהרה למען שמך, כי גואל חזק אתה, ברוך אתה השם, גואל ישראל. By the way, almost in a lot of those brachot here, both in Slach Chanu and Re'eh Ve'onyenu, you're gonna end, also the next one, the Refaenu, you're gonna end with ata. So the word ata, usually we're gonna say Baruch ata, right? Here, it's ata, and if you look at the article, for example, they put a metig to show you that the accent falls on the aleph. Why that's that? Well, if you were in my Torah class, the laning, so we talked about tzurat hefsek for a little bit. And tzurat hefsek, that means that sometimes when the words are at the end of a sentence, they are a little bit different. So, for example, in the Torah, the word regel becomes ragel. Shever becomes shaver, right? Lechem, lachem. Think about the kiddush you say on Friday night, right? Or whatever. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. The word is gefen, right? But because it's the end of the sentence, it becomes gafen. So that's called tzurat hefsek. Sometimes the vowels change at the end of the sentence or at a pause. Okay, and it's end of a sentence obviously is a pause. Same goes for accents, other accents. So what happens is the word ata becomes ata. Okay, because it gives a kind of a more of a weight that grounded as a stop. Okay, that has to do with laws of grammar in the Torah. But thank God, in modern editions of the Sidurim, you have a method that kind of tells you, shows to you that the accent falls on the first syllable and not the last syllable. Okay. Baruch atah Hashem, Goel Yisrael. Refainu ad Hashem v'nerafe, Hoshienu v'nivashea, ki tehillatenu ata, ve'ale refuah shlema lechol makoteinu, ki el melech rofe ne'eman v'rachaman ata. Baruch atah Hashem, רופא חולי עמו ישראל. ברך עלינו, עד השם אלוקינו, את השנה הזאת, ואת כל מיני תבואתה לטובה. ותנתן ומטר לברך על פני האדמה, ושבענו מטובך. Here, by the way, you're going to see two different versions. The R scroll has ושבענו מטובך. The Koran is going to have ושבענו מטובה. What's the difference? ושבענו מטובך talks about that we thank God for, when we're asking, asking God and what? Bless and satisfy us from your bounty. Mituvecha, from your bounty. Right? If we say mituva, we talk about from its bounty, i.e., the land of Israel. Or even not to be that specific, from the bounty of the land. Okay, so usually, many times in editions in Chutz La'aretz, like the ArtScroll, we're going to say mituvecha, and editions like the Koran, which is an Israeli edition, or editions that focus or that mindset is on Birkat Hashem, on that bracha on Israel, going to have mituva. Okay, it's not really like this dichotomy doesn't always matches like, Nusach Ashkenaz or Sfarad or that kind of stuff. It goes back and forth here. For example, the Ramban was very, very clear about mituva, even though he lived, in diaspora. Right? So both are legitimate, both are correct. I'm just just get, just be aware that both versions are out there.
ושבנו מטובך וברך שנתנו כשנים הטובות. ברוך אתה השם, מברך השנים. תקע בשופר גדול לשירותנו, וסנס לקבץ גלויותינו. וקבצנו יחד מארבע כנפות הארץ. ברוך אתה השם, מקבץ נידחי עמו ישראל. Pa 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 pa. Conquer. השיבו שופטינו כבראשונה ויועצינו כבתחילה. והסר ממנו יגון ואנחה מלוך עלינו אתה השם לבדך בחסד ורחמים. וצדקנו במשפט. ברוך אתה השם. מלך אוהב צדקה ומשפט. ולמלשינים אל תקבע וכל הרשע כרגע תאבד. וכל אוהביך מהרה יכרתו, והזדים מהרה תעקר ותשבר ותמגר ותכניע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה השם, שובר אויבים ומכניע זדים. על הצדיקים ועל החסידים ועל זקני עמך בית ישראל, והפליטת סופריהם על גרי הצדק ועלינו. יאמרו רחמך השם אלוקינו ותשכחנו ולכל הבוטחים בשמך באמת. ושמחה לקנו עמהם לעולם, ולא נבוש כי בך בטחנו. ברוך אתה השם, משען ומבטח לצדיקים.
So, by the way, here in this bracha, you're going to have like different versions also, because you're going to have something like this one, ותן שכר טוב לכל הבוטחים בשמך באמת, then ושמחה לקנו עמהם לעולם. And put our lot together with them, meaning with the tzaddikim, forever. And then, ולא נבוש כי בך בטחנו. Right? And we will not feel ashamed because for we trust in you. Another version to look at that is ושמחה לקנו עמהם ושמחה לקנו עמהם. Yeah, and put our lot with them, comma, meaning with the tzaddikim. And then the vav moves from the word velo to the word leolam, and then uleolam lo nevosh ki becha batachnu. And forever we will not feel ashamed. Okay, so the word leolam can go either way. So it's like put our lot with them forever, or forever we should not feel ashamed. Again, two versions, both legitimate. Just be aware of that stuff. Okay? Next. Anyone heard what I did here? What? Greg, I can't hear you. You're muted.
You went to Tisha B'Av there.
Excellent. I put the Eicha
Yeah.
trope here. Because, well, that's the blessing that talks about the rebuild of Jerusalem. And Tisha B'Av, we mourn the destruction of Jerusalem. This is like the stuff that I like to here and there, stuff like that. Like, you know, I have a couple of shticks like that. In Rosh Hashanah, for example, I stick, there's a pasuk, Behigalotcha malkeinu al har Sinai lelamed la'amcha Torah u'mitzvot. Right, in Rosh Hashanah Musaf. So I stick, Behigalotcha malkeinu al har Sinai lelamed la'amcha Torah u'mitzvot, which is the music for the Akdamot in Shavuot, because we talk about Mount Sinai, receiving the Torah. So I go out from the Nusach of Rosh Hashanah into just like a little bit, like one sentence, a couple of words of the Shavuot, just to get like something in the, or for example, in Shalosh Regalim, right, in Chazarat Hashatz in Musaf, in Shalosh Regalim, I do, Kagadu b'Toratecha, Shalosh Pa'amim b'Shana Yirei V'Chag HaMatzot. Right, from the Haggadah. Right,
I noticed for Shabbat there in Musaf, you put every nigun for Hanukkah I ever heard of, and then some in that Musaf.
Yes.
I don't know how you do all that, but yeah, it was very good.
Right. So over there, I did the Hanukkah songs in past Shabbat Hanukkah, obviously. But I'm saying, like in the Nusach itself, even. Which is the music of the Akdamot, one for Shavuot, obviously, and then which is the old melody of the Na'anuim, and also Tfilat Geshem. So, you know, those little things to get you guys, you know, get your attention and to get you like, you know, oh, what did you do? Why? You know, that's my job, to keep you awake. Anyway, so here, I like to stick, you know, the Eicha trope. Okay, back to our thing. Ta ta ra 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 di da ba 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 ba. ולירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב, ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת, ובנה אותה בקרוב בימינו בניין עולם, וכיסא דוד מהרה לתוכה תכין. ברוך אתה לו שם, וברוך אתה לו שם, בונה ירושלים, את צמח דוד עבדך מרע תצמיח, וקרנות תרום לשועתך, כי לשועתך קיווינו כל היום. ברוך אתה לו שם, מצמיח קרן ישועה, שמע קולנו על השם אלוקינו, חוז ורחם עלינו, וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו. Here I give a little bit of the high holiday nusach, just because Shema Koleinu is something that we say in the slichot. כי לא שומע תפילות ותחנונים, אתה מלפניך מלכנו רקם אל תשבנו, כי אתה שומע תפילת עמך ישראל ברחמים, ברוך אתה לו שם, שומע תפילה, וצא עד השם אלוקים עמך ישראל בתפילתם, והשבת העבודה לדבר ביתך, ואישי ישראל תפילתם, ואהבת תקבל ברצון, ותראה רצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך. Etc., etc. Okay, till the end of the Amidah. I want to jump for a minute and into the Volin Nusach, Hasidic Nusach. So again, we start exactly the same. Baruch atah Hashem Elokei
Well, now I'm looking. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoteinu, Elokei Abraham, Lo Yitzchak v'Lo Yaakov, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון. ומלך הדתיים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חזר ומודיע לבני בניהם. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה השם, מגן אברהם. This is all the same, right? אתה יבוא לעולם עוד השם, מחיים את אימת הרב להושיע, etc. ימלוך עד השם לעולם ולארץ נתו לדור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ברוך אתה השם, האל הקדוש. And then in Atah Chonen, if you want, you can switch. Atah Chonen לאדם דעת, ומלמד לאנוש בינה, חוננו ביתך דעה בינה והשכל. ברוך אתה השם, חונן הדעת. That nusach is a little bit different. Ti da ba 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 ti da 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 da. Hashivenu avinu torotecha, vekarveinu makinu lavodatecha, v'achazirenu b'tshuva shlema lefanecha, baruch ata Hashem, harotze b'tshuva. Tzachanu avinu kechatanu, v'chalam lakenu kivashanu. כי מוכל וסולח אתה ברוך אתה קדושם חנו ונאמר ולסלוח רב עוננו וריבנו וגאלנו מרע למען שמך כי גואל חזק אתה ברוך אתה קדושם גואל ישראל. I don't know if you ever daven in the Hasidic shtivel, but that's the way they daven. Obviously, not with this havara, not with this pronunciation of the Hebrew, it's going to be a little bit different. Imagining my grandfather, who was a Galicianer, he davened like that. Lachluni ovini kichuti, it's like that was like very heavy Ashkenazi pronunciation. Da 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 di da da bonomorobelisloya rebonaini verivaini ugelaini merale manjem khaki goel khazako tobori khatu adoishem goel Israel. That's the way you're gonna hear it in a real Hasidic shtiwa, with very similar to where I grew up. Anyway, so you have it, the Hasidic Nusach and the regular Ashkenazi Nusach. Baruch Aleinu Hashem Elokeinu Shana v'kol minei tkvot tova. וזנתל ומותרים לך על פני אדמה, וזבים ודביה והשנים כשנים הטובות, ברוך אתה השם, מברך השנים. One of the advantages, one of the, the really, something that people really, 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 really appreciate is the ability to do the repetition of the Amidah very fast. You can do that very, very fast because you practice the words. Saying it a million times, then people really appreciate it. Because listen, it's very painful when you listen to the whole repetition to somebody, and they're just like breaking their teeth through it, and it's just not pleasant. It's just not pleasant, and especially if they phrase it in the wrong way, then forget it. That it's painful because that not only that they can't pronounce it right, they also don't understand what they're saying, because had they understood, they would never say it that way. Okay, let's just finish up here. I'm going to go back to Retzeh. רצה על השם אלוקים וחי ישראל בתפילתם והשבת העבודה להתקרב ביתך, וישסות בדם מאהבה תקבל ברצון, תהילה רצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך, ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים. That's exactly what Shibanker like. Ba-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra. Baruch atah Hashem, המחזיר שכינתו לציון. Here, by the way, when we come to Mudim, we have like a whole long tradition of discussion about what exactly the Chazan does. The right custom, the correct custom is for the Chazan to recite the whole thing out loud, because it is a bracha. It is a bracha, and just like the other brachot, the kahal needs to hear the entire bracha. So what is this business that sometimes you hear chazanim that just say Modim anachnu lach, and then they're going to jump into the end. Me'olam kivinu lach. Well, as you know, we have the regular Modim and the Modim de Rabbanan, i.e. the Modim that is being recited by the congregation, is taking place at the same time. So in order not to create too much of dissonance and balagan in the shul, that the Chazan is going to recite one text while the congregation is going to recite a different text and going to clash at the same time, they said, okay, so the Chazan can start and do the rest in undertone, and then come back and do it out loud at the end. And of course, and that's okay because the Khatimah will be already out loud and everybody's going to hear that. Okay, so that's one approach. The other approach says, no, and that's, by the way, that was Rav Soloveitchik's approach. You start, you say Mudim, or Mudim Anachnu Lach, or something like that, and you stop, you wait until the congregation ends, and when it's quiet, you continue, the Chazan continues. And that's, I think, the practice at, for example, Young Israel Century City with Rabbi Muskin. I always had a problem with that because that's not my understanding of the halacha. And Rabbi Top on that agrees with me. The Mishnah says that the congregation recites the Modim de Rabbanan while the Chazan recites the regular Modim. So I understand that technically once you started and you stopped, that it means that, I get it. I understand that approach of Rav Soloveitchik, but I disagree. I think that the original plan, I think what Chachamim meant is to have that two texts going on at the same time. And therefore, our practice here at Bet Jacob is that you recite it and the congregation recite the Modim de Rabbanan at the same time. And you do not wait for them. The Chazan does not wait for the congregation to finish Modim de Rabbanan and then continues, but rather you do it simultaneously. But you do recite the entire bracha out loud, unlike the custom that was mainly popular, like in the Central European synagogues, where everything was like very strict, and they couldn't take it. It's going to be like too much, balagan. Like the Chazan, like in Germany, it's like the Chazan and the congregation with texts at the same time. There was too much of a balagan for them. So you have the three approaches, and I think that our approach at Bet Jacob is the one that makes most sense. It's the one that actually most I don't know. It's the one that I think is the most accurate, reflecting what the Mishnah means. And anyway, that's that. Oh, this is also important.
Sha'ata. Look under the shin. It's not she. It's sha. Ask me what? What do you mean? Why is this sha? It's supposed to be she, right? It's what we call it chilit. A, it's a kind of a prefix. Le, me, she, right? If I'm going to say sidur, right? So me sidur, right? I took something me, right? Me hatfila, or le, to, me from, le, to, she, that, or of which, right? So it's she. So why is it sha here? Ah, so this is an interesting case. In the tefillah, we many times quote the Tanakh. And since that format appears in Tanakh as sha'ata and not she'ata, we continue to do that. Since this is a direct quote from Tanakh, that's the way it appears in Tanakh, we do it this way. Okay? That's the simple answer. Okay.
מודים אנחנו לך, שאתה כבוד השם אלוקינו ולאהבתנו לעולם ועד. צורך חיינו וגנישנו אותה ולדור ודור. נודה לך וספר תהילתך. על חיינו מסורים בידיך ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך. ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו ועל נפלאותיך וטובותיך שבכל עת, ערב הבוקר בצהריים. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך.
Here, this is very important also. People do that mistake all the time. Everybody say, Hatov ki lo chalu b'chamecha. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Hatov ki lo chalu, from the word kelaya, meaning to end. When we say that God's tov, or God's mercy, God's rachamim, rachamecha, your mercy, will never end. Right? If you say chalu, is to take effect. That means it's the opposite of what we want to say. If you're going to say ki lo chalu rachamecha, that means your mercy have never taken effect, never became a reality. That's what you're saying. Instead of, it's a totally different, it's the opposite word of what we want. We got to be careful here. That's where you say ki lo chalu. The accent is on the lu, on the milra, it's on the last one. Lo chalu rachamecha. They never ended. God's mercy, God's rachamim never ended. And then it becomes a little bit confusing. Ve'hamrachem ki lo tamu chasadecha. So it's chalu and tamu. And there's a very famous song written by Ben Zion Shenker. Ben Zion Shenker was the composer of the Mojitz Hasidim. He wrote over 600 melodies. You, for example, the guy that wrote everybody knows, he wrote that. He wrote he wrote that. He wrote a lot of the music that you know. Anyway, so he's got a very famous song. And everybody said, it's wrong. So I remember once being in a concert in Israel, and the conductor, every time because it was the finale, so all the Chazanim sang it together. So it's like any of us saying chalu instead of chalu instead of chalu, he stopped the rehearsal and he screamed and he said, no. And so
הטוב, 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 כי לא חלו רחמך ויאמרחם, כי לא תמוך. And so it took like a while. And by the way, even today, like years later, even though he did that like on his all of the concerts, and people still sing it. That's the way that. I'm talking about even in Israel, when people are actually supposed to know the language. Everybody make that mistake. So be careful. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך. אוקיי. ועל כולם יתברך מתרומם שלך, מלכנו תמיד עולם ועד, וכל החיים יודוך סלע, ויעללו את שמך באמת על ישועתנו ובעזרתנו סלע. ברוך אתה השם, הטוב שמך ולחנה להודות. In חזרת השץ, you have ברכת כהנים by the חזן. אלוקינו, אלוהי אבותינו, ברכנו בברכה המשותפת. Oh, here we have like talking about a מחלוקת. מחלוקת goes all the way to the times of the Rishonim. What's the correct way to say it? So here it's our scroll say, ברכנו בברכה המשולשת, כמה, בתורה הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך. It means a threefold blessing. משולשת, בברכה המשולשת. Right? The three-part bracha. So the word משולשת describes the bracha. And indeed, it says the bracha that it has three parts. יברכך, and then יאר, and then יישא. Right? Three different verses. Okay. The other way to read it, ברכנו בברכה, כמה, המשולשת בתורה. That is, the problem with that, though, it's not משולשת בתורה. It doesn't appear 3 times in the Torah. It appears only once. Okay, so if you put the comma in the wrong, you're going to end up with a totally different meaning of the sentence. Now the question is, though, בתורה הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך, or you're going to say, ברכנו בברכה המשולשת בתורה, הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך. So the question is where the comma goes. The comma goes after המשולשת or בתורה. What's the difference? The difference becomes when we say al yed הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך, written by Moshe, your servant, that describes what? Describes the bracha, or does it describe the Torah? According to one reading, you say that Moshe wrote that bracha. According to the other one, Moshe wrote the Torah. Obviously, the bracha is part of the Torah. Again, that's a machloket. It's a very old machloket. We're not going to make decisions here. Obviously, you can, the way you feel that, or, your sidur, our scroll make a decision here. ברכנו בברכה המשולשת, כמה? בתורה כתובה על ידי משה עבדך. The Torah is written by Moshe. Other places, the comma is going to be before, one word after that, therefore saying that the bracha was written by Moshe. Okay. אלוקינו ואלוקי אבותינו, ברכנו בברכה המשולשת בתורה הכתובה על ידי משה עבדך, המורה מפי אהרון ובניו כהנים הקדושיך, כאמור, יברכך השם וישמרך. And by the way, יברכך. That's the way you should read it. יברכך. There's here they don't have it, but if you look at the Tanakh, in the Chumash, you'll see that there's a metic there. יברכך. יברכך השם וישמרך, יאר השם פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא השם פניו אליך, וישם לך שלום. שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ברכה ממעלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כחברך פניך כי בפניך נתת לנו שם אלוקים תורת חיים ואהבת חסד. וצדקה וברכה ברחמים וחיים בשלום, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה השם, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. And by the way, just gonna flip for a second to mincha, because that's the only difference that we have, is Shalom Rav. In mincha you say instead of Sim Shalom, you say Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, al Yisrael chadasim leolam, ki ata umelech adon lechol hashalom. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה השם, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. Okay, and that's basically that. And then the rest of the shacharit, you have the Tachanun. You continue with that. That's the same mode. עוזרנו אלוהי שומרי כבוד שמך, והצילנו וכפר חטאותינו למען שמך, ויתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא נברח חירותי והמליך מלכותי, וחייכונו וימכונו וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. It's the same thing. טה-רה-רה-רה-רה-רה-רה. בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. Yep. Then you have Utzat Sefer, okay, if relevant, Monday, Thursday, it's the same thing. And Ashrei Yoshvei Betecha Od Yalelu Chasela. And here, actually, you can go back to the minor if you want. I would continue with the same thing. Tehillat Ad Hashem medaber pi baruch basar shem kol shol olam va'ed. V'anachnu barech ya me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah. Ad Hashem Moshiach melech yaneinu ve'yom koreinu. ואתה קדוש יושב זילות ישראל וקרא זה לזה ואמר קדוש 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 השם צבאות מלך כל הארץ כבודו ותישאנו רוח ושמך חי כל רעש גדול ויבטחו וחיות שמך כי לא עזבת דושך עד השם חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר יגדל ויגדל שמי רבה. Same thing. ונאמר ביד השם למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה השם אחד ושמו אחד. Okay, and Shir Shel Yom, it's the same thing, whatever that is. Now, technically, it's already Tuesday. קומה אלוהים שופטי הארץ, כי אתה תנחל בכל הגויים. And that's it. That's the entire weekday Nusach. So, the melodies that you need to remember. 1, Torah blessings. 2, Haba Nagila. 3, Archie Bunker. That's it. Those 3 melodies and you're all good to go. That's obviously, it's easy in theory, much harder in reality. I know. But I actually, if you look at the show website, let me just find that, and I'll share my screen with you for a second so you'll see it. Okay. Because one of the things, the first thing that I did when I came to, I think that I hope it's there. Let me see before I. Before I tell you to go somewhere and it's like. Yep. Okay, it's all there. So hold on. There we go. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how that goes. Boom. Here we go. Everybody see my screen? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your screen is going to look a little bit different because you're not an admin, whatever. You're not going to have that. But other than that, that's betjacob.org.
Okay, go to pray with us. Click on that, and then you'll see Nusach HaTfilah.
Uh-huh.
Click on that. Okay, you have
You put the recordings on.
Shacharit,
Uh-huh.
Mincha, Ma'ariv. So I'm just whatever opening Shacharit. Everything is here. Everything with a page number or whatever that is. Okay, so here's the morning blessing. I'm just like whatever, just an example. Click on that.
Baruch atah.
Let me just do that. You'll believe me that it's here. Right? That's Birkat Torah. That's as we said. Yeah. So the entire Nusach, everything is there on the website. And you can download, you can save it, you can do whatever you want with that. You can whatever, listen to it, you can do whatever you want. So go to the bethjacob.org, pray with us, Nusach HaTfilah, and then you have Mincha, Shacharit, Mincha, or Ma'ariv. Click on any section that you want, and it's all there. I did that. One of the first things that I did when I came here, just like years ago, I did that already. Okay. So you have all recorded. You don't need to go back to this. I mean, you can go back to this class if you want, because I'm going to upload all the classes. By the way, the Torah, the Haftarah, the Weekday Nusach, everything is on the website. Everything is on the website already. You know how to get to those classes? Okay, let me show you. Let me share my screen again. Just a second. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, back to bethjacob.org. And then you go this time to learn with us, not pray with us, learn with us. Okay, learn with us, and you go to Beth Jacob Audio Shiurim. Click on that, and here under Rabbi Top's picture, you're going to see all the classes. Here's at the Amud. Okay, class 1, 2, and 3. This is Torah reading, Haftarah reading, Weekday Nusach, God willing, tomorrow. So class 1 and 2 are already up. Class 3, just today, is going to be right here, hopefully tomorrow. Then you can see, like, my other classes, the Nach Talks, the Therapist Outlook, whatever. And, it goes on and on and on and on and on to all the hundreds of shiurim that I give. So all that stuff is there. You click on that, and you'll be able to see those recordings. Okay, it's very, very simple. Okay, so just so this is the last of Weekday Nusach. Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, in 2 days, I'm starting the again at 8 p.m. I'm starting the Shabbat Nusach. This is going to be 4 weeks. I'm going to crunch the entire Shabbat Nusach into 4 weeks. Okay, we're going to have Kabbalat Shabbat, Shacharit, Musaf, and Mincha. The Nusach. For all those tefillot is going to be in 4 classes, 4 Wednesdays. Okay, not a Monday, 4 Wednesdays. We're starting in 2 days. So it's going to be whatever, the 8th, the 15th, the 20-something, and the 20-something. I think it's 22nd and then 29th. So by the end of this civil year, you'll have like the whole. We'll complete the whole at the Amud series. Okay.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Well, maybe we'll see you on Wednesday. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.